Tokyo is one of the biggest cities in the world, and with over 30 million people around you, it might feel like there's never a moment of peace. If you're an introvert and an awkward person like myself, figuring out things that you can do by yourself can be a bit challenging. Which is why today on my day off, I want to take you guys with me and show you some of the amazing things you can do in Tokyo without having to worry about your social awkwardness. The first place we're going to is somewhere where we don't have to worry about anyone bothering us, since we're going to a museum. But not just any museum. This is Meguro Parasitological Museum, or as I would call it, the best place for a first date. Because if there's anything I know about women, I don't know anything about women. The Parasite Museum is filled with disgusting creatures and study notes from the weirdos who dedicated their lives into stuff like pulling this 8 meters long tapeworm out of some Japanese guy's ass. Now obviously I'm just being cheeky about this, since the place was actually really cool and surprisingly completely free to enter. We have a lot to see today, so it's time for us to get moving. Before we visit our next place though, let's grab some lunch. Having just seen enough parasites to last a lifetime made me think that maybe I should cook my own food this time, which is why we've come to eat yakiniku. This isn't your average yakiniku restaurant though, since in here you're supposed to come and eat by yourself, which is why every customer has their own grill where they can cook in peace, making it perfect for awkward people like myself. This place is called Yakiniku Like, and even though it is a chain restaurant, the meat is actually surprisingly good and definitely not expensive at all. The system is very easy to understand and pretty much everything is also written in English, so I don't think anyone would have any trouble eating here even if they didn't understand Japanese. You order through a tablet and pay to a machine, meaning that you don't need to interact with anyone if you don't want to. Just don't do the mistake I did and order a normal set when there was lunchtime menu also available. But it is what it is, and even with my stupid mistake, the whole set cost only around $12. One thing that's great about going out on a day like this is that as long as you avoid the touristy areas, there is hardly any people around you and you're bound to find some interesting things scattered around the city. Like this super old children's playground I found on my way to our next destination. I'm a guy who likes the small things in life, which is why, even though I paid extra for my meal, my spirits were immediately restored once I got to ride a duck. Our next location is the Institute of Nature Study in the heart of Tokyo. On a quick glance, it might just seem like a regular park, but it's actually a preservation area with all kinds of different greenery, all labeled so you can also learn a bit while you're here. But since they are trying to preserve the species in this area, not everything of course is allowed in here.
One thing Japanese kids love to do is to collect insects, which is why anytime I walk in a suburban area, you can see the kids running around with plastic cages and nets because they've been outside collecting insects.
When you come here, just be careful of the water fountain. As innocent it may seem, it does have some behavioral problems.
It's pretty nice to have this kind of, big nature area in the middle of the city, because this isn't necessarily a park. It is pretty much a park, but not technically. And because it's not technically a park, there's also less people in here because people just kind of don't realize to come here.
The thing that most people who come here seem to do is bird watching, which is why most of them had cameras with lenses the size of bazookas.
The nice thing about this place for any introvert is that since most people come here to take photos and study the nature, everyone is just kinda minding their own business and being as quiet as they can.
Whenever someone saw a bird, everyone kind of gathered together to take pictures. So, of course, I had to join them, even though I could never afford a camera like that. Now that we've enjoyed the nature a bit, let's go see how the city looks up from Tokyo Tower.
The interesting thing about Tokyo Tower is that if you don't want to take the elevator, you can actually just take the staircase. First step, let's go. Climbing up takes about 15 minutes, which isn't too bad. And I honestly think anyone should do this because it's first of all much better than the elevator. And on top of that, you get to burn calories, so you get to eat more delicious Japanese food. Note to self: less video games, more exercise.
Getting to the top isn't a hard feat, but since I tend to treat my body like a zoo, even a flight of stairs becomes a challenge. In any case, I made it alive to the top, and it seemed to be a great day since Mount Fuji was kind of visible in the distance.
I'm actually scared of heights, but for whatever reason these kind of heights don't really bother me. I guess it's maybe because it doesn't feel real and it feels like a video game or something. But then when I go to like 3-4 meters high, that's when I actually get really scared.
It's been about 15 years since the last time I was up here, so it was nice to be able to do it again. Tokyo Tower is nothing special, but I like it from a historical context, and it's nice to visit these famous tourist locations every now and then, because any excuse to go out for a hikikomori like myself is a good one. But now it's time for us to start moving towards our last destination of the day. On my way there, I noticed that the Buddhist temple right next to Tokyo Tower had decorated thousands of Jizo statues around the temple area, which was even to a cold-hearted man like myself very beautiful. The purpose of Jizo statues are to protect children in the afterlife. The reason they're giving toys and clothing is because even in life after death, children are still children. What can I say? It's cute. A bit sad, but cute. Since we burned some calories climbing up to the tower, I think the best way to end the day is to eat ramen. Which is why we've come to every introvert's dream restaurant. This place is called Ichiran, and it's probably the most famous ramen chain in Japan. The reason why it's so incredibly popular among locals and tourists is because the ramen is pretty great, and it's also a fun experience. In here, you don't have to worry about other people since you have your own private booth, and on top of it, you'll be served incognito mode through a curtain, which makes you feel like you're buying some kind of illegal ramen. You can customize your ramen however you want, and everything is also written in English here, which makes it easy even for tourists. The most interesting part is that in case you don't wish like talking, you can even use these wooden blocks to communicate with the staff. I don't go to Ichiran often because there's usually better local options around, but if you have time to eat only one ramen in Japan, Ichiran is definitely a safe option, and on days like this, when I'm looking for some quiet time, it's hard to find a better place than this.